If I completely messed up my TED Talk right now, would you consider me a failure? Despite the amount of work that I put into this, despite the pressure and the privilege that I feel to be standing here today, if I fall flat on my face, I'm okay with it. It's certainly not that I don't care or I haven't put effort into this talk today. I have. But instead of tying my happiness to this result, like how many views this gets, I learned to tie it into my effort, to the process. And with this mindset, I cannot fail. I either get the result I wanted or I get valuable feedback that allows me to pivot or to learn a lesson for next time. Sure, easier said than done, but my goal here is to show you how I've changed my mindset from failure being the worst thing in the world to learning to embrace it, to not even thinking of failure as failure in the traditional sense of the word. Most importantly, I'm going to share with you how I've changed the way that I viewed both success and failure, and how that can help you in pursuing your goals in a more sustainable way. Now, failure is something that we're all told to avoid, right? We hear the motivational speeches of never accepting failure, never quitting, never being satisfied. Their voices are often deep and harsh, shouting at us like this: "You will never be happy until you've accomplished your goal. Never give up. No one remembers the person who didn't make it, so make it happen." I used to watch motivational videos like that all the time. Unfortunately, this narrative creates two stories in our minds. One is that we aren't enough without accomplishing or attaining something that is outside of us. And two, that pursuing our goals comes with this risk of what is traditionally viewed as the opposite of success: failure. It's because of this that many people live their lives in pursuit of this moving target of happiness. The way that we have been told to think about our goals is literally setting us up for failure, and worse, the way we think about the risk of failure holds many people back from even going after their goals in the first place. The concept of failure is something that's intrigued me for pretty much all my life. You could say a relationship status it's complicated. At one point, failure was something that I just could not accept. Simply not an option. But today, failure is a concept that I've fully embraced. Were it not for what many would consider my biggest failure, I wouldn't be here today sharing the lessons that I've learned from it with you. Remember when I talked about those motivational speeches saying that no one would remember the person who didn't make it? Well, not only did I used to believe that, but I let that quote dictate most of my life. At the age of 3, I told my parents I would go to the Olympics someday, and from that moment forward, my life was sports. Although I played several sports, I fell in love with snowboarding. Now, snowboarding was something that I was not good at from the first go. In fact, my first attempt involved catching an edge and tumbling head over heels down a hill. Despite this, I spent most of my days daydreaming of being a professional snowboarder, and I told all of my classmates that I would be someday. Of course, they all teased me for this, and understandably so, because like I just shared with you, I was absolutely awful at the time. At 17, I made the junior national team. Yes, my career was on the right path. That season, I made the Junior World Championship team, and I claimed a top 10 result at the event, the highest of any Canadian woman. Things were starting to come together, but my mind just kept wandering back to that vision that I had of standing on top of the Olympic podium. Why wasn't I first place? Top 10 is simply not enough, I remember thinking. That's the thing with wanting to be the best. Often you're not happy until you get there. And with the mindset that I had, you're not even going to be happy then. The thing is, there will always be someone better, and there will always be something more. I always thought that everything that I had gone through, the years of hard work, learning to snowboard in my tiny backyard because I didn't live near the mountains, the long summer jobs that I would take on to pay for my competitions, they wouldn't matter until I was the best. That I wouldn't matter until I was the best. That my effort would all be for nothing unless I got there. During the lead up to the 2014 Olympic qualifying season, I was riddled with injury, but I pushed through. To claim that final team spot that we had, I needed to win the next World Cup against all the best snowboarders in the world. The next 2 World Cups, I placed 34th and 29th, and ended up watching the Olympics with my arm in a sling on the couch. Not only was my body in rough shape, broken ribs, broken tailbone, concussions, but my mental health had taken a serious tumble after ignoring several warning signs over the past seasons. Similar to my Junior Worlds result, this really shouldn't have upset me as much as it did. I was young, and my real trajectory was to go to the 2018 Games. I mean, at 21, I had just placed in the top 30th in the world. But the way I learned to set my goals, to me, this was a failure. By this time, my mind had become my own real worst enemy. And In 2015, I made the toughest decision of my life: to prioritize my mental health and walk away from the sport and the goal that I had dedicated my life to. Now, this may be an extreme example, but over the years, I've realized that I'm not alone. I'm willing to bet that a majority of you listening have a similar, perhaps unconscious, relationship with the concepts of failure and success, simply because of the way that we are taught to value rewards and results more than the actual effort that we put in to get there. I often hear parents who give money to their kids for good grades, not taking into account that one kid could have to work so hard just to earn a B, where another kid could just get an A based off natural talent and just be slacking off and learning bad habits in order to get there. Now, attaching our happiness or these rewards based off what we do rather than who we are and the effort that we put in is a recipe for disaster in my mind. It was because of this narrative that I had built into my head that when I walked away from that Olympic goal, my mental health only worsened. My entire identity had been so wrapped up with this one thing and this one goal that I didn't realize how much this mindset had been affecting me negatively until I made that decision to step away. Through years of hard work, I've completely changed that mindset. I'm certainly not saying that you shouldn't pursue your biggest goals. Quite the opposite, in fact. When I learned to change how I measured failure and success, I've been able to build my own business and compete in a new sport after snowboarding without the same negative side effects as I had in my previous pursuits. So I want to challenge you to think about what could happen if you valued your effort more than external rewards or results. What if you praised yourself and others around you for trying, for the pursuit of becoming, rather than just for having or achieving? Perhaps if I had chosen to focus on the effort I was putting in and just be proud of myself for it, I wouldn't have had the mental struggles that led me to needing to walk away in the first place. So how can you embrace this new mindset? And how can you make the conscious decision to never fail again? Well, first you need to learn how to embrace effort over results, especially at the things that you are naturally talented at. Rather than writing down goals such as get a promotion, get straight A's, get a boyfriend, focus on the habits it takes to be someone who achieves these things. Perhaps it's working on your craft for 1 hour every single day. Make that a goal. Perhaps it's doing the self-work to overcome some of these traumas and things that you have so that you could be in a better relationship with somebody. I'll give you an example of something that I went through. In snowboarding, I would make a list of tricks that I had to land every single day. And then at the end of the day, if I didn't land them, I would be very unhappy. I would beat myself up for it. The thing is you hardly ever learn a snowboard trick first try. Like even the best of the best, it takes a lot of effort. You learn through trying, you learn through falling down, getting feedback, learning a new way, and getting back up and trying again. So now in my new endeavors, I focus on process-based goals. For example, did I give my best today? Did I get the right amount of sleep last night to be able to have the energy to show up how I want for this TED Talk today? I can rarely ever control the results, but I certainly can control my effort. Next one, and this is a hard one, is to learn to ignore judgment. Not everyone will understand your goals, and they will project their fears and their limiting beliefs on you. When someone judges you, just realize that it says more about them than it does about you. If these people are judging you, chances are they haven't even tried at the things that you failed at. So why should their opinion matter to you so much, and why would you let it dictate the things that you do and the decisions that you make with your life? When we care about the judgment of others, it means that we're more focused on that external reward and status than on actually pursuing this goal or the thing that we're passionate about in the first place. Lastly, let's think about changing the way we even set goals in the first place. If you make it your ultimate goal in life to learn, to grow, and to pursue your best self, whatever that may look like to you, then there is no possible way to fail, because failure is the best teacher. It's how we realize if we should pivot, and it's the building blocks to success and getting to where we want to go. As the saying goes, you win or you learn. And when self-growth, which comes from learning, is what you consider a win, then how can you possibly fail? Today I can stand here and tell you with confidence that not making the Olympics in 2014 was one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Through what looked like my biggest failure at the time, I've been able to change my mindset and appreciate the lessons in the pursuit of that goal. You see, we do not need to have something in order to be someone. We be it first. All that effort that I put in, the lessons that I've learned, they weren't for nothing. They propelled me into what I'm doing today. When we pursue success from a place of already being enough, it changes the game entirely. And with that mindset, failure is not failure, and pursuing your biggest goals are not as scary of a risk as it may seem. So go all in, shoot your shot, but don't forget to love the process along the way.